Cool. All right, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Very, very, very excited. We've got Smart Extract enhancements. So for those who haven't seen it yet, a lot of work has gone into this to improve the overall experience in terms of trying to give you more data faster with less wait time. So traditionally, we've always had to create maps, and usually that takes a day SLA to create the map if the one doesn't exist. But now we're using AI engines to help us extract that data faster to give you your results. So for those who don't know us, my name is Candice. I head up customer success, and we have Sean with us today.
Howdy.
He'll be your voice. So any questions, please pop the questions in the questions section. So that's where Sean will be looking, and he will be your voice. So he'll be able to jump in anytime we're sort of running through a relevant section. He'll be able to raise the questions that everyone might get benefit from. But otherwise, any reactions or anything like that, feel free to drop those in the chats. Any feedbacks and comments, that would be great. Awesome. So just a quick agenda today. We'll run through the new document workflow, how to configure the settings, run through these recent enhancements that we've done, and then we've got a quick poll before we open up for more Q&A. So, but you don't have to wait to the end of the session to ask questions. You can drop those anytime. Cool. All right, jumping straight into the workflow. So I'm logged into Lightyear. Heading over to the processing tab, a few ways you can get your data in. As usual, you can email your dedicated email address up here in the top right, top left. Basically what happens is they'll land in your processing tab the first time you receive a bill from a supplier you haven't seen before. Lightyear will then see if there's an existing map. If there's any suggested maps, it'll try that first. You can then choose to search other maps types if you want to, or let's say you've got summary map as the only option, but you wanted line data. You can then also click Smart Extract on the document because it wouldn't have recognized Smart Extract straight away. The other option is so browse files, select your files. New section here, we've got Smart Extract. You can select what type of documents they are. So here you can define them, and then you can choose the extraction type. Load. Very simple. I should note that if we've got statements, got some statements down here as an example. Statements don't get smart extracted. So if I select my document type, these are all statements. It won't actually allow you to select Smart Extract for them. So we'll come back to that in the enhancements. And we'll chat through in terms of why. Cool. The other option is your mobile app. So you can snap and upload, take a photo, upload it into Lightyear, and we'll be able to extract data for your bills, receipts, and expenses. So they can also be automatically smart extracted. Cool. All right, first things first, let's jump onto a bill. Come here, let's just check this one. That's cool. Nope. Cool. All right, so first things first, if I've, let's say, uploaded a document and I didn't tick Smart Extract, automatically it would default to the maps view. So I can still find map, try maps, and if I hadn't done it, it would automatically suggest any maps that would work for this document. Failing that, then I can click Smart Extract, and then over here, I think most people will see it defaults to summary, but you can actually choose like what type of data you want. So you can see I've got summary, service, where it gets a little bit more description, and lines. So if I've got product codes, you can see here it'll pick up more information than it would have done with a map. So for example, you can see all that picked up from the description here. It does truncate after a certain number of characters, but you can see here it's also picked up more of the product code as well. So previously we would only be able to extract what's on the top line that's in line with the values, whereas now we're able to get more of that data and we truncate that at a certain point. What else have we got here? So next thing you need to do is check that you've got all your mandatory fields. So anything with a star. Notice that it does say supplier name INSEE here, but it is Pizza Planet. So what that's trying to do is trying to get the supplier name from the logo, but logo fonts aren't the easiest. Not to worry there, because what happens is you'll be creating the supplier anyway, and you can call it whatever you prefer. So I might say here, I want this to be Pizza Planet. I already have a supplier, otherwise I can create the supplier. In this case, I would select it. And here it's just taking me through bank details. So here it's picked up the BSB. If I just jump out and scroll down, BSB. Let's just go service. So you can see it's picked up BSB, but it's not picked up the account number there. So what you can do is apply, confirm and apply this, or you can jump into supplier section. Look for Pizza Planet, jump into the Smart Extract, your rules. So previously you just had the maps. You also now have the Smart Extract, and you can add your custom field here. So anytime I see the word ACC, or I do have some examples here with the word account, I can treat that as whatever preference I'd like here. So I can say account number. So if, let's say you've got BPay details on the document, you can also type in, add another one. You can also add in here, if I say BPay code, I can say, cool, it might be biller code, references. So there's plenty of other options here, but I'll come back to that later. So account, now if I come back to, let's save that. If I come back to processing and select that document, again here, maybe I haven't refreshed.
I think you did account instead of ACC, which is what this document
Oh,
is.
yes, thank you. Okay, I do have other ones. Let's come back and look for a doc that I had everything with. That's got shipping. So you can see here, additional footer fields has also been added. And what else? There was another one I wanted with discounts, and this one. There you go. So this has picked up my bank details and my footer fields. So just for the demo purposes, I used to have ACC. I've just changed it to account, which is why the other one wasn't working. But here I've just gone, cool, because we created that rule in the supplier profile, it's now picking up more information in regards to my account number. And then the other fields would have been picked up regardless. So I can say here, cool, like this particular one has picked up all these additional fields. It's now going to be able to extract that. Whereas previously with Smart Extract, it was just whatever was in the line, in the body of the document. So it was just picking up your line items, and it wasn't picking up, let's show you the totals, it wasn't picking up like discounts if it was added in the footer, or freight or shipping. So there are certain terms that we've coded the system to look for. I'll also run through those a little later. But here now, all I have to do, going back, cool. I can either reselect the type of map I want here, or I can reselect the supplier name. Cool. Confirm. And those custom fields will have been added. So when I send to approvals, you can see it's picking up the BSB there, account number. So it's picked up the BSB and account number, and my discount at the bottom, and the freight. Ta-da! So if in the case you've got discounts, for example, where sometimes there's actually no discount, it's $0, create the label for them anyway, because it might not have a value in that particular instance, but in future, it will then look for wherever it says discount, it'll then add it as a line item here as well. If it's in the body of the actual line items, then again, you probably wouldn't need to in that case, because it should be read as a line item. So this accounts for more of the additional footer fields that we've sort of worked through. Cool. What else have we got? Statements. So previously, statements in some cases, depending on the formatting, they were being picked up as going through being smart extracted as bills. So now we actually have the option where it actually reads it looks for the label statement and a combination with statement number or period 1 or balance forward. There's all these little cues that it looks for in combination with the word statement, where it then flags it as a potential statement. So it stays here in processing, so it doesn't get smart extracted as a bill. And then that way you're avoiding double payment or overpaying the supplier there. So here, what we can do is, in this case, you can then request maps as usual. So currently Smart Extract doesn't actually do the data extraction for a statement, but the enhancement here is that it stops it moving into the bills workflow. Cool.
Do have a very good question here.
Yes, go for it.
I'll reply in text as well. But the question is there a way to tell Lightyear that if the invoice reads, in this example, rental invoice, apply a service, but if it says tax invoice, apply items for the same supplier?
Yes, that's great. We are going to come back to that anyway. So turning it on at the company level, so introducing this auto smart extract, you can set it so that your account just automatically smart extracts anything that hasn't already been mapped, especially for a lot of you who've been using this for a while. So if it's been mapped previously, it'll still continue applying those maps. It's in the cases where maybe the map doesn't fit anymore because the format has changed, or it's a new supplier, that you can then switch this. When this is switched on, it will automatically just flow through. If it finds a matching supplier, it'll suggest it. You apply it, or you recommend it. You can apply select your supplier, and then it'll go through into the approvals, as opposed to requesting a map, waiting for a map, and then setting up your supplier. So here you've got the option. You can set that, any bills that come in, we want them all as line, service, or summary. Service is probably the most common way to go. And then at the supplier level, so it might be default everyone else's service there, but then it might be for Pizza Planet. For this particular supplier, I might then want lines. So then you can sort of control that at the supplier level to go, cool, for everything else, like maybe for utilities like phone bills, you might just want summary. Whereas this one here, I can see, like, anytime I see a bill from this particular supplier, I want this to be lines instead of services I've set in the company setting there. Was there a second part to that question?
Well, it was more if it says a certain value on the doc, can it be service versus line item for
the same supplier?
So not at present, but that is a good suggestion.
Yes. Yep. Definitely keep them coming through, because that'll help us.
There is another question. It's just again on the workflow, how the auto mapping works.
Yes.
So, and feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure I got a handle of this one.
Okay.
Candace. If there's already existing maps against a supplier profile, suppliers send them in. If we still have that same logic where there's a associated sender email with that mapping type, and the map will extract the data, the format hasn't changed, that'll still apply as normal.
Correct.
If you have new suppliers, documents are sent in. If other clients have requested a map on that same format of document, and there's maps that'll be suggested, it's not going to automatically smart extract. It's only going to automatically smart extract if there's not existing maps. We're then going to trigger smart extract and either flow it through to the approvals workflow if there's existing suppliers, or leave it in processing if there's not a supplier that needs to be assigned to.
Yes, correct. Cool. So bank details, going back to things here. So just wanted to call out a couple of things. So these are in our knowledge base as well, just so that you're aware of like what phrases we're sort of looking for when we're using Smart Extract to identify as the different document types or different custom fields or rules that you want to set. So uploading as a bill, let's say you've uploaded a statement as a bill, which can happen. It will go through. You can then see here, I'll just zoom in. It'll look for anything that contains the word like statement number, statement no, balance forward, brought forward, statement date, statement of account, because I think the word statement on itself, on its own, is a little too generic. So we're trying to be a bit more clever of that, in that case. So then we're looking for any of these phrases anywhere in combination with like the balance, debit, current, period one, or open amount, to try and identify those a bit more clearly. So that's for statements here. Bank details, just so we're across the different phrases that it would look for. So automatically, so when we applied the supplier, it came up with the little pop-up, and it came up with BSB. So BSB is, I'd say, probably quite common in terms of, you know, branch codes and things like that. So look for that automatically. So came up, we identified that as BSB, and then it presented it as a rule. So it knows then to treat BSB as your branch code. And then just some of the other international references, you know, sort code, branch code, routing number, transit numbers for anyone who deals with like multi-currency bills, overseas suppliers. Same with account number. So we've got this specifically like in combination with like account number, account no. We didn't use the word account specifically because sometimes that could be your account code, as in your customer code. So that was probably a little too loose, which is why in the case, the example I had to go and define the account number. And then there's additional things like your account name, IBAN, SWIFT, BICS, BPay codes, and things like that. So then, yes, you can, anything else around the bank details, it might be a different variation of it. So in my case, it was just account. I can then add that as a custom rule from the supplier settings. And, leave this page. So then I can add those additional rules into the supplier settings here. Coming into Smart Extract, and then it stores them. So just keep in mind here, if you delete, the system will also try and find rules based on these fields here. So you can see that's been added twice. So deleting them won't probably be your best option, because the next time you receive a document, it'll automatically add those back in there. So if you decide like actually discount versus discount 20%, that's not what I want to use. Maybe I want to use discount because maybe next time it's not 20%. I can just go mark as not in use rather than deleting them. So keep that one in mind as well. And then the other thing I've noticed with existing clients using is sometimes if your supplier has your ABN on the document, that's where you just need to be aware. Maybe mark your own ABN as not in use, because you might have multiple suppliers sending documents with your ABN on it. And if you've got the rule ticked, it can then confuse who the supplier is. So just always be sure that your the supplier's ABN is the one that's ticked. Your one is not. You look like you had a question.
We've got a couple of questions.
Oh, good.
Again, around the workflow. First one is, if we delete the map IDs, can we shift that to be Smart Extract?
Yes. Yep. So here in this case, I've left them here, but I can delete them. It just means the next time I receive a bill from the supplier, it will then sit in processing until we've Smart Extracted it. The next time it comes in, it will just, to your current day process, should just go straight through to your approvals process, approvals tab rather than processing.
Thank you. Is there a benefit to requesting a map from Lightyear if one does not exist from the supplier, or should we just be using Smart Extract moving forward? Great
question. So I would say try Smart Extract first, because it's there, it's at your fingertips, and it's a lot faster than having to wait for, there we go. Faster. Yeah, that's my rules. Yeah. It's faster than, finding map, trying maps, requesting maps. So here you can very quickly get a preview of the data set you want. There you go, keeps coming up. Yes, once you've done that, that's it. You don't have to keep requesting maps. So I would try the Smart Extract first. And then if it's not doing particularly what you want, then maybe have a look at the maps and just leave us a note like, hey, tried Smart Extract here, but it wasn't getting XYZ, or it skips a line, or whatever the reason might be. Or it might be like, oh, I wasn't getting, in some cases, good segue, actually, reminder. If the bank details are all in one line, it does have difficulties trying to detect your bank details there, even when you do set the custom fields or rules around that. So in those cases, you might say like, hey, tried Smart Extracting, but bank details weren't extracting. Can I get a map with bank details? And then the team will be onto it.
There might be scenarios where you'll have a quantity value and maybe a weight column. Smart Extract might be picking one when you want the other.
Yes.
And that's a scenario where you might say, I'd like a map, and that's no problem at all.
Yeah.
But to count as a point, try Smart Extract first, see what comes up.
Cool. Yes, and then, sorry, just while we're on the knowledge base, I just wanted to run through like additional keywords that we sort of look for in these documents. So for shipping, you've got freight, carriage, delivery. So it looks for these variations. But again, if not, if there's something else like maybe aligned better closer to the value, because sometimes you might have freight GST as two separate lines, but the value sort of aligns with freight. So then you might just want to be a bit clearer, like, hey, this is the matching value here. Miscellaneous, so you've got additional fees like admin fees, handling fees, processing fees, additional charges, credit card fees, and then it just looks for the word discount for discounts. So yes, so if you do forget, don't expect everyone to remember this on day one. We do have them available in knowledge base for review, so have a look through. The other thing we thought was also worth chatting through was, I think I'm in here, yeah, the tax rates. So on Smart Extract, pizza, no, profile. The other thing that might also come in handy is your tax rates. So we've always had your default tax and tax-free code. So if these differ to what you've set under the company level at the Accountancy Software section, you can select different tax rates. But with Smart Extract, if let's say it's a different indicator, so trying to think, it might say maybe the GST is not being picked up, or what have you, it might be a different code. So something I see often might be like, trying to think here, like S15 versus, it might be like, actually it's a 15% rate or something like that for overseas, or it's probably more applicable to overseas suppliers. In our case, we're pretty straightforward in
AU and NZ, 10%,
yeah.
15%. It's the US where you've got state tax, local tax.
But like you've also got certain places in UK where it's like 20%, 5% VAT. So you can then use those different codes to define it. So it might be like 5% for like a 5% and a 20% for a 20% VAT. So you can sort of align those there. Whereas previously it was like we could only map, when we were creating maps, it would only give you one tax value. It wouldn't be able to split it. You'd have to go and manually adjust it. So Smart Extract is another enhancement in that regard.
Just coming back to some of the questions here. Again, it's a workflowy kind of one.
Yeah.
With the new update, do we have to Smart Extract every time there's a new invoice from the same supplier, or do the invoices flow through like if it was mapped?
They do flow through, yeah. So again, first time setup, and then they will go through. So if let's say, so these are here because I've uploaded them all at once. But if I upload them again, they should just land. Let's just go those. Bill, lines. So they'll come in here and you can see them starting to process. And then as we start processing these, they'll start moving through to the approvals tab.
What do we got here? We've got certain suppliers that when they're mapped, certain line items aren't picked up because they don't have a product code. So you might have a product code for 5 items and then a bunch of stuff that doesn't have a product code, so that the mapper doesn't extract those lines. With Smart Extract, how's it going to handle that?
Good question. I feel like I need to see an example of this format, right?
Based on what I've seen, we've been playing around with this for a couple of months now. It typically will populate the lines with a combination of product code and description. Sometimes it'll go, I'll populate the product code as the description twice, much like I would do with the mapping.
Yes,
there are some scenarios where it doesn't always grab it, but by and large, it's been pretty good.
Yeah, I really think that depends on the format. So yeah, send them in, have a play. But yeah, in the cases where, for example, let's say this document didn't have a product code and just had description, and you wanted line items, then it would just populate the description twice as a product code and the description. Yeah. Let's refresh some of these. They've gone through. Oh. That should have gone through. Oh, you know why? I'm not logged in. I'm logged in as my admin user rather than the original set where I'd logged in as myself. So bad example, but yes, they do. They will come through landing into the approvals tab.
What do we got? If we make changes in the Smart Extract before setting to approvals, does it apply to new invoices from the same supplier? It'll depend on what those changes are. Basically, if you're saying, hey, look at these values and make sure that whatever value XYZ appears as freight, future documents, yes. But if you're making edits to the actual extraction, that's not something that'll happen on future bills.
Yes. So here, for example, I can go, cool. Let's say I wanted to change this, like I wanted to code it from here. I'm just going to pick the top one because it's easy, not because it's correct. But yes, I can create a new demo company. Anything here I want to run through? Nope. Cool. Send to approvals. I'll just go straight through. Oh, it dropped off my account. That's not what I was expecting. But basically any edits that were made should have come through. But because I didn't set it on my supplier level.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Another good question around for anybody who's sort of in the hospo space, a question around ALM bills.
Oh, yes.
Can we extract accurate invoice line items in the totals for ALMs? It's probably something still we need to work on. We spoke about this last night.
Yes.
Just due to again, this is very niche for the hospo people, but due to the way that ALM format their documents, there's some challenges both in mapping and in Smart Extract. But given how prevalent they are, particularly in the AU market, it's something we want to get on top of. So we'll always be working to enhance that.
I think that they're a bit difficult because some of the with the number of potential footer fields that they have, as well as like sometimes I've noticed like different rebates have different names, so it's not consistent enough to always find those and extract those correctly. So that's just something to
add the summary of your breakdown of your wine and your beer and your spirits inside the line items.
So for now, I'd say for ALM specifically, they're probably better off mapped.
I've created about 100 maps for them, so there should be one that works. There's a lot of answers.
There are. Okay. Cool. So I think we've actually covered quite a lot in without going through the slides. So settings, just as a reminder. So settings can be activated from the company level. So at the moment, I think there was a certain date, but if you've been using a while, chances are if you haven't turned it on, it will say no. It will be turning on to yes. Then you can select your default preference at the company level. So this is what you prefer most suppliers to be. And then if you want it at for a particular supplier to be summary or lines, That's where you can go and set that at the supplier level and go, cool, my preference for Telstra is summary, but for anything that's inventory related, I want lines.
Coming back to that question about using different extractions based on the word in the document, and this is me very much thinking on the fly, you may be able to do that with aliases here using the document. Oh, no, you can't create it. No, that's me thinking on the fly and not getting it right. No, I'm a problem solver. That's not a problem we can solve this yet.
In those cases, you could, I guess, look at defaulting to maps.
Yeah.
If there's something unique enough, we would, again, have to assess those on a case-by-case basis, depending on the format, or if there's like a trigger that we could look at. So that might be worth sending in for us to review for the maps. Yeah. Cool. Cool. Good news. This is going live for everyone on 12th of May. So at the moment, we've been in beta, so there's been a lot of testing, a lot of trial and error, a lot of enhancements that we've built out. So moving forward from the 12th of May, everyone will be defaulted onto yes for the Smart Extract, and it will default to service. So the idea is that any new suppliers that come in, they will just come through into processing. If your supplier profile already exists and it finds a match, it'll suggest that. You can then define like whether it's bank details or document type, so like credit notes, statements. You can then set up those rules, move them across, and then moving forward, you're not having to sit there and wait for or request a map or find maps. So that will be the go live date. I'm very excited about that. Before we move into any more question time, we do have a poll we want to run past you, just in terms of where you sort of might want to see enhancements next for a Smart Extract. So before we prop up the poll, I'll just go through the 4 options. So first one is the ability to split and merge. At the moment, it is intended behavior that when you split a document in processing that you've got Smart Extracted, it doesn't automatically Smart Extract. So if, let's say I've got a bill that's 13 pages, might split from page 2 as like one document there. The risk of setting those to auto Smart Extract is that they'll all then move across into the approvals tab. So we've got them sitting in processing until you've finished splitting, that you can then decide to reprocess them as Smart Extract again. But the enhancement we're looking at is the ability to split, merge together, as well as changing the order of the pages of splitting and merging them. Because I think at the moment, if you split them all and then merge them all, it's not necessarily that they fall back in the order that they originally came in. So that's 1. 2, email in triggers. So we do this already for purchase orders, where you can go my company plus PO at lightyear.cloud. We are looking at bringing back in the plus expense, plus statement, plus credit note, etc., so that the system then picks up on those cues and there's less room for error, and it'll treat those as the specific document type that you've linked to that particular email. So that way they go through the right Smart Extract method. The next one I really like is the edit mode. So the ability to customize your extraction on your documents rather than what comes out of the box. So it's almost like giving you guys the mapping power. So for example, let's see here, for example, so bank details. So it's not picking up the account name, for example, because here as a human, we know that would be your account name, but because there's no actual label there, it's not picking those up. And that's why I wasn't able to create a custom rule there. But with this edit mode, the idea is that you'll have the ability to go, cool, for account name, I want to map it to this particular field. So it looks for that value. So that's a really exciting one. Not trying to lead everyone, not trying to set up any bias, but I think that's pretty exciting. And then 4th is the ability to flag in approvals when a document has been Smart Extracted. So depending on, I guess, the processes, some people might want to know, like, hey, it's just automatically Smart Extracted and landed in approvals before I had a chance to review it. because it found matches. So in that case here, you might then want to be able to see like which documents were smart extracted, so you can target those first before you then export to your accounting software. So those are the 4 options. Do you want to pop up that poll for us?
Poll.
Cool, thank you.
Do you want to share the results with everyone, or we'll just wait and see a little bit?
Let's give it a little moment. You don't want to
worries.
lead. You don't want to give people a chance to have their say. Yeah. Any other questions?
I think we're on top of the questions.
Nice. Well, in that case, just a couple of reminders. For Smart Extract, there is a 20-page limit. So if you do have like a 100-page Telstra bill, those would generally, there are existing maps for those. So I'd say those would give you summary data. Multi-currencies, currently it does default to USD if it doesn't find an indicator, like a AUD, GBP. So if it doesn't find the currency indicator, that's what it defaults to. But not really an issue because your supplier settings will override whatever is presented in the processing view anyway. Yep, if there's any missing data, it'll be held in the processing tab. So let's say it couldn't, based on the logo, it couldn't define who the supplier was, or it might be missing a bill date. In that case, you can, it will be held in the processing tab. You will need to manually enter those bits for it to move across. So yeah, if there's any feedback or anything you're finding issues with, don't forget you do have the report issue button here. Otherwise, you're welcome to send an email to us at support@lightyearap.com with more feedback on your experience, because yeah, we really want to hear about this so that we can help improve your experience overall. Cool. All right, quick, little bit over time, but very engaging session there. Any other questions before we close this one out then? Nope.
Will there be a replay? Yeah, we can.
Well, we're recording the session, so we can set this one out. But yes, May 12th is the date to watch out for. We are planning to do an open hour as well, just at the 2 days after that's been turned on. So that way you can jump on, ask any questions, share experiences, and yeah, we'll be on there live. Versus in these scenarios, we tend to be the ones doing all the talking. So we'll do an open hour session that way.
That'll be a first for us, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Thank you very much. Seeing all these thumbs up. Looking very forward to hearing what you guys have to say. Positive, negative, we want to hear it. So please don't be a stranger. The more we hear about any type of feedback, the more we can sort of concentrate in an area or look to improve a particular area. So the more we use it, the more it learns. That's the beauty of AI. So looking forward to it. Thank you very much.